And thanks so much for tuning to the Daily Dose for Spiritual Growth. Today is Tuesday. We're going to be in Genesis chapter 47. And we're going to be talking about just being wise with the resources that God has entrusted to us. I think we've all realized, even just the last couple of years, if you've been around a little bit longer, if I'm sure you've probably experienced the economic downturn in 2008, the housing crash. Then if you were even earlier on, maybe in 2000, there was another economic turndown. And then if we go even back further, there was the Great Depression. And then in between, there's all sorts of seasons that we have gone through where there has been a drought, where there has been a famine, where there has been uncertainty, where now what we're facing is just an extreme amount of inflation. So the rise of food, the rise of gas, the rise of just everything of prices have just continuing to increase. Now, obviously, it hasn't been as bad as of late, but we see here, we look at the price of eggs, the price of milk, the price of pretty much anything. Did you know that the average price of just going out to eat, the average price is $13 per person? That is astronomical compared to what it was a few years ago. But we have to see, or we have to understand and be wise with what God has entrusted to us and not be so dependent about on the things of this earth, because they're fleeting. They'll be here one day and then gone the next. As well, we see here that the famine was so severe here that even Joseph collected all the money in the land because people were coming in and buying grain because they had nothing to eat. And verse 13 of chapter 47 says, "Meanwhile, the famine became so severe that all the food was used up, and the people were starving throughout the lands of Egypt and Canaan. By selling the grain to all the people, Joseph eventually collected all the money in Egypt and Canaan, and he put the money in the Pharaoh's treasury. When the people of Egypt and Canaan ran out of money, all the Egyptians came to Joseph. 'Our money is gone,' they cried, 'but please give us food or we will die before your very eyes.'" And then he has this whole plan, and he gives them livestock and things like that. And eventually they become slaves, all because they were not wise with the resources that God has entrusted to them. See, here's the thing. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. We're not guaranteed our jobs tomorrow. We're not guaranteed our health tomorrow. So what are we doing today to be wise with what God has entrusted to us? That's the challenge today. And I want you to talk about it. Maybe if you don't have any accountability in your life when it comes to finances, when it comes to storing up, when it comes to just being wise, living within our means. I mean, we have a problem with that. But you know what? We can get the help. We can get the encouragement, and we can have the right accountability in our lives by not making emotional decisions and staying focused on what actually matters. And so let's choose to do that. Let's choose to focus on what actually matters. And the New Testament talks about how we can store up treasures in heaven, not treasures here on this earth where moth and rust will destroy, but treasures in heaven that will last. And so let's look at the resources that God has entrusted to us, and let's look at what are we actually doing with them. Let that be a challenge for every single one of us as we choose to be wise with what God has given us. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for the Daily Dose for Spiritual Growth.